All right. I want to talk about Thomas Matthew Crooks, who tried to assassinate Trump, apparently tried to assassinate Trump a couple weeks ago. And the reason I'm making this video is because I've seen so many theories. And the theory that they're going with right now, they're still saying that they don't know for sure, but the theory they're going for now is that he was trying to, parental discretion advisory, he was trying to commit SBC. SBC. Now, it's too early in the video for me to say what SBC is, but I don't think he was trying to commit SBC. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. Now, I'm conservative, and I've been conservative all my life, but I've been conservative. I'm like him. I recognized real early that I was conservative. And I wanted to register as a Republican. I really wanted to register as a Republican, but I just never had a chance to. I caught a felony when I was 18 years old, so I didn't have my voting rights until all of my time was served 10 years later at the age of 28. I got my voting rights back at the age of 28, and I didn't vote in that election for Obama. I still lived in Texas at the time. I'm originally from Chicago, but I lived in Texas at the time, and I understood politics pretty thoroughly, believe it or not. At 28, I understood politics pretty thoroughly. It's just the way I was raised, my mother was a good mother. My mother had me involved with politics. Growing up in Chicago, I was involved with politics, which means that we were Operation Push sometimes. I probably met Jesse Jackson before the age of 7. We had a mayor, Harold Washington, a black mayor. I'm pretty certain I met him a few times. He was very accessible and such a nice man. Chicago's best mayor, no doubt about it. I was raised really religious, so and I never stopped loving the Bible. I maybe had like some backsliding phases here and there, but I love the Bible. I trust the Bible. I think it's the greatest book ever written. I have read the entire thing cover to cover. Like I said, I was convicted young. You got a lot of time in jail. So reading the Bible was right up my alley. And it's a better read than a lot of people might think. And boy, is it surprising, because it's not going to be what you think it is. Probably. I know it wasn't for me. You read that book and then you get to the last page, you read Revelations, and you're like, It's real curious to read that Bible because it's so different from the narrative of modern day Christianity. Modern day Christianity is so far from that. It's amazing. The Bible literally says don't have Christmas trees in your house. Don't decorate them with silver and gold. Literally says that. Don't be like those fools that bring the fir trees into your house. So why do Christians celebrate Christmas with Christmas trees? Why do they celebrate it on the 25th of December? It's clear from reading the story that it wasn't that time of year. But we know why. Invictus Sol and Saturnia, all these other things. Straight facts. But let's get back to Crooks. SBC. What is SBC? Suicide by cop. And it's something. It's a thing that happens. Now, usually when men commit suicide by cop, and I mean almost always, they're not really trying to hurt anybody. It's happened so many times. They're not trying to hurt anybody. They'll point the weapon at the cop. They'll wave it around. They might even shoot it. They often shoot guns that aren't real. They often point guns that aren't loaded. They'll have a knife and they'll like swing it in a very weird way, clearly not trying to get the person. They'll be very far away from the cop and they'll be swinging a knife. Thomas Crooks, though, everything indicates that he thought he would get away with this, which is very weird. Very weird. How on earth did he think he was going to get away with it? He said he starts then. My theory of Thomas Matthews Crooks is he wanted to change the world. He wanted to save the world. And He wanted to be a Republican, but he hates what the Republican Party stands for. Now, me, as I mentioned, I went to prison as a teenager. Dudes like me, even though the stereotype, the way people treat me on the streets, walk past and all this other stuff, people act like I'm dangerous, people treat me like I'm dangerous. But dudes like me who go to prison, rehabilitate, and don't commit the same crimes, we don't just snap and do some stuff like that. And then on top of it is terrorism. Terrorism almost always backfires. I think he wanted to take Trump out and not make Trump more popular. If it really is a real thing and he wasn't some kind of weird patsy, if this wasn't some weird, if he wasn't blackmailed into doing this or something like that. Because the strangest thing about this assassination attempt is the young man was 20. The young man was 20 years old. Now, a lot of these mass shooters and these school shooters are young men. He's awful young, but there's usually, even with them, it's usually something. You think about the original incel, Elliot Rodgers. Now, what did he do? He went on a rampage hunting for the prettiest girls at his school because he felt they all rejected him. And he felt, now he's like the original red pill content creator on YouTube. No doubt about it. He would make those videos. I'm so handsome and I'm rich. I got money. But these girls want to date the losers, man. Look at him. He's a loser. He's not going to treat her right, man. Yeah, like you're going to treat her right, Mr. Psychopathic mass shooter. And his story was crazy because, like I say, he was shooting for the girls that he thought was the prettiest girls at his school. And he did quite a bit of damage. Hey, Siri.
Uh-huh.
How many people did Elliot Rodger kill?
Okay, I found this on the web for how many people did Elliot Rodger kill. Check it out.
So they call it the Isla Vista killings. Sorry, Wikipedia, I'm not donating no money to you guys. Lie about Larry Hoover too much. Anyway, the 2014 and other stuff, lie about race and religion. I would never donate to Wikipedia. It props up white supremacy. Anyway, the 2014 Isla Vista killings were two misogynistic terror attacks on Isla Vista, California, on the evening of Friday, May 23rd. 22-year-old Roger Elliott, so close to the same age. But he was really angry about not having a girlfriend. He would say stuff like, I'm a 22-year-old virgin and no girl, I'll never have a girlfriend, and it doesn't make any sense. I look better than everybody. I've met some dudes like that just swear, man, I'm such a beautiful man. Why can't I get girls? Couple things. One, however you think you look, most people, you're not going to be their type. That's one. Two, everybody wants a beautiful person, but don't nobody want somebody that's like, oh, I'm so beautiful. Oh, I'm so beautiful. Oh, smell my feet. Smell my breath. Oh, you're so lucky. And he had a lot of that energy, man. His videos were ridiculous. And like I say, he was a red pill content creator. I was trying to see how many people he killed. He killed 6 people and injured 14 others by gunshot, stabbing, and vehicle ramming near the campus of University of California, Santa Barbara. 2014, so 10 years ago. Dang, that's crazy. Just over 10 years ago. Let me see, attack type. Spree killing, murder, suicide, drive-by shooting, stabbing, mass murder, vehicle ramming, attack, shootout. That's so crazy how that young man went out. Oh, because I'm sorry, man, but it is so funny to me. It's like, I can't get a girlfriend. But you're going to do something that wild and adventurous. Why not go talk to girls? Why not go get rejected like that? That's so wild to me. But another problem with Elliot Rodgers is he had really, really high standards. He only wanted the most beautiful girls. And he did have a nice car. He did have a nice car. He always talked about how nice he dressed. But he was an only child, which that don't mean nothing. Only child supposedly statistically do better than any other type of children. Success wise and everything. But that was his problem too. Okay, so he thought he was so beautiful. But here's the thing about that. His mother was very pretty. And he looked like his mother somewhat. But his mother was Asian and his father was white. And so he had a lot of his mother's features, but they didn't seem to come out in the right configuration. So he looked in the mirror. He thought he looked like his mama, but he looked very exotic. He looked very exotic. You know, he like passed for white, but he didn't look, you know. But either way it goes, that's wild. But back to this Crooks guy. So Crooks, of all the you know, they say he was trying to commit suicide by cop. By shooting at the president. That's silly. That's so silly. He's going to go through all that. He clearly wanted to take Trump out, to take a name. He almost hit him, you know. And he has posted something on the gaming sites, like my debut will be on that day. And they think that he might have wanted to kill Biden, and I think he did. I mean, you got to think about it. He's 20 years old, man. And the next president, he wants to be a Republican. He registered as a Republican way young, way before he can even vote. All he wanted to be was a Republican. And if you really want to be a Republican and he was very smart, very intelligent, probably a reader. If you love Republicans and the Republican Party, it's a good chance you're going to be like me. And you're going to study the Civil War. You're going to study the Civil War. I got a book in the back of my truck over here. If you study the Civil War and you still want to be a Republican and you study it first of all, the Civil War is so fascinating to study. So fascinating. It never gets old. You never run out of material. The problem with studying the Civil War is that after studying it for a while, you start hearing the same stories over and over again, told in a different way or a different tone. And that's one thing that got me to stop studying it. But man, I mean, I didn't stop studying it, but there was one point in my life where I was just going to the library, getting audio books, and they would be like, you know, a whole bunch of CDs. And I was early in my trucking career. I would just go to the library, get the CDs, listen to some audio books, and listen to the same audio, you know, listen to that series, like a 12 CD series, listen to it a few times, go to the library, get something else on the Civil War. Something else on the Civil War. So that was really cool for the beginning of my trucking. I got my trucking license on parole, so it was super freedom for me. I'm driving these trucks. I had never owned a car when I became a truck driver. I got out on parole, and I had to take the bus to go pick up the truck. I'm a truck driver officially, and I work for a moving company in San Antonio, Texas. Hot in the back of those trucks. I worked for a moving company in Austin too before. It's a really hard job. And I've always been a skinny dude, you know. So I'm a lightweight, lugging all this stuff, moving stuff that didn't mathematically make no sense. But I pushed myself. And, you know, when you work jobs like that, you work for a lot of wealthy people who would never bust a hump. Some of them tip very well. And some of them complain about ridiculous stuff. Some will try to scam you when the bill comes around, working for a moving company with something else, especially on parole, especially catching the bus. A nice bus ride every morning. And you know, jobs like that, you got to start early, early. So you're catching that first bus. The kind of cool thing about that is that, you know, you sleep. You can sleep. You can sleep on the bus ride home. You shouldn't sleep on the bus ride to work. You'll miss your stop. But you sleep on the bus ride home, and you ride the bus for a while. People recognize you. They wake you up. Hey, man, it's your stop. Oh, man, good looking out. But studying the Republican Party, studying the history of the Republican Party, and studying the Civil War, especially if you already lean conservative, especially if you already love the Bible, you come out of that. You probably went in with a lot of respect for Abraham Lincoln, and maybe you knew who Ulysses S. Grant was or not. The first biography I ever read about a politician was Ulysses S. Grant in the fourth grade, and I was hooked ever since, man. Ulysses S. Grant was without a doubt the coolest, manliest president in United States history. And talk about a man that dealt with challenges. It's so insulting to hear Trump, who is supposed to be the torchbearer of the Republican Party. It's hard if you love the GOP, Grand Old Party. That's what it was called most of my life. Grand Old Party, Lincoln and Trump. Not Lincoln and Trump, Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant. And if you love those two and you love the party and republicanism, the ultimate thing about republicanism is that the law is the center of it. You establish laws through a process, and everything that the government does is to protect, observe, and uphold the law. And Trump never denounced what happened on January 6th. And those MAGA people that stormed the Capitol, they had a lot of Confederate flags. A lot of Confederate flags. And there's still a lot of Confederate flags. You know, it's so funny. Trump just the other day said some crazy stuff about burning the flag should get a person at least a year in prison. But them slapping Trump in bold, gaudy letters across an American flag is not desecration. I mean, it's worse than burning the flag. It really is. To dispose of flags, they burn them. That's the traditional way. You're supposed to burn them in a certain way, not in the streets and protests and stuff like that. But to dispose of flags, that's what they do. They burn them. They ceremonially burn them. But putting your name on a flag, putting your face on a flag, on the American flag, there's 50 stars. No faces, no names. Until now. Trump. MAGA. Trump's picture. And Confederate flags with the exact same. Confederate flags, Trump. Confederate flags with his face right in the middle of the X. Now think about a young man who's, they say he was really into war. He wanted to join the military to pay for school. He had so much respect for the war and the Republican Party. And here's a real serious question. What will Ulysses S. Grant think about Trump? What would he say to Trump? Would they hang out? Would they be drinking buddies? What about Lincoln? Even if they liked him initially, how would they feel after his supporters stormed the Capitol with Confederate flags? And then he didn't, not only did he not denounce them and say that was unacceptable, he called them hostages when they got arrested for it. The Republican Party history is really great. You know, people try to besmirch Abraham Lincoln's name, try to paint him as some kind of racist or something like that. He didn't really want to free the slaves. Abraham Lincoln was an abolitionist his entire life. From the moment he knew what the word abolitionist meant, I am an abolitionist. That's his story. He got into law to help that cause. As a lawyer, He worked to help black people and free black people. He even paid out his own money to help people that didn't have any money. Abraham Lincoln owned the slaves. A lot of people don't know that. But he bought a slave so that he could give a man his freedom. Again, as a young lawyer. Another thing about Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant, they were scrappy men. Ulysses S. Grant, for crying out loud, led the Union Army to victory over the South at a time when they thought it was impossible. When Grant took over the army, they thought all was lost. Most people thought all was lost. Grant took over the army and just started smashing. Why does Donald Trump and MAGA disrespect that? Why does Donald Trump and MAGA disrespect Abraham Lincoln? I've heard him say it out of his own mouth. Donald Trump said that he's better than Abraham Lincoln. Not only has he said he's the best president of all time, not only has he said he's the most oppressed president of all time, the most hated by the media. Go back and look at some old political comics of Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant and revisit some of his thoughts. Then remember, Abraham Lincoln got shot in the head while watching the play in front of his wife and in front of a whole bunch of other Union soldiers. And they loved Lincoln. Those Republicans and those Union soldiers, they loved Lincoln. Why did the Republican Party, why is it turning into MAGA? Everything that Ulysses S. Grant and Abraham Lincoln lived, fought, and died for. Talk about dedication to this country. Everything that they said and did, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, MAGA is the opposite. MAGA thinks that black people have too much freedom. MAGA thinks that white people are now oppressed. MAGA doesn't like anything that gives black people what they perceive as an advantage. Donald Trump, before his cases, he was saying cops need to be rougher, heavy-handed, be more physically abusive. Now he's crying how unjust the justice system is, just so unjust. Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant, as far as presidents go, the definition of sacrifice, the definition of valor, the definition of honor. You know, Ulysses S. Grant, so after he led the Union to victory and they won the Civil War, Ulysses S. Grant ended up becoming the next Republican president. And he was wild, but he was not known for being disrespectful. And Abraham Lincoln, could you imagine Abraham Lincoln speaking like Trump, thinking like Trump? And then Trump releases a Bible. He adds the Constitution. He adds the Declaration of Independence. It's called the God Bless the America Bible. No Emancipation Proclamation. You're the torchbearer for the Republican Party, for Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant and all the other Republicans that fought to keep republicanism alive, to make sure that this doesn't become what you guys wanted. You guys want to get rid of the Electoral College. No. You complaining about unfair elections now? What happens when we just count every vote, the popular vote wins? Then there's going to be super uncompetitive. You think it's bad now. People don't think things through, man. The Electoral College protects America from fraud and unfair balances, metropolitan centers. You know what I'm saying? Should New York City really be the most powerful? Whatever New York City says, that's what goes. Because there's like 18 million votes right there. It's never about the popular vote. If Abraham Lincoln would have counted on the popular vote, slavery would have never ended. Well, that's probably not true, because the North might have had the numbers to outnumber them. But if they lost it by election, they would have still fought. They weren't going to give up their slaves that easily.